Everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's been a couple of months. A lot has happened with the YouTube channel, along with recording and the car, of course. So to talk about it, the first things first, the reason why I haven't been recording is because I actually haven't really touched the car that much, with the exception of some specific things that we're going to talk about, and also my computer died. Originally I had a Mac, it died, I switched over to PC, and I've been in the works of getting software to edit my videos and upload it to YouTube, which I just got a couple days ago. So, to recap what has happened between then and now, so last video you saw the engine started on the car. During the process of installing the engine and transmission, I was bleeding the clutch and I noticed that there's a large leak coming from the transmission itself upon bleeding the clutch. Pulled it out, find out that the throwout bearing was bad. I had to replace that. I actually replaced it twice because the part I received was bad. So I'm in the process of replacing that now. Also, what else happened? I bought an AccuSump. It's right here actually. It's a Canton Racing AccuSump, and I'll talk about why I bought it. Later down the road, I'm not necessarily going to be able to, I'll be able to maintain what I'm trying to do as like tires and normal wear and tear and stuff like that, but something like replacing an engine on a moment's notice is not something that I'm going to be able to do. And I know that one of the largest failures in an engine is oil pressure loss, especially when you're road racing or drag racing or something like that. They have specific oil pans that are designed to counteract that, but they only can go so far. So what an AccuSump does is it's a pressurized cylinder that will apply oil pressure to your engine if it notices that the oil pressure dips down below a certain point. So that's why I bought this guy. Hopefully it will help me and make sure this engine lasts as long as it can. What else happened? I painted the engine bay. So I was putting in the engine, taking it out, putting it in, taking it out, and it generated a lot of wear and tear on the actual paint that was in there. And then from the previous owner, I believe that there was a large oil leak, and that deteriorated some of the paint. So I ended up just repainting it, and I'll jump to that clip after this, and it came out great. And in doing that, I decided to take out the front subframe. I haven't done it before on this car. So upon removing it, all 4 of the bolts stripped out. It was a 6-point nut on all 4. I used a 6-point socket. Couldn't get them off. All of them stripped out. So I ended up cutting them out, and then later today, the new bolts should come in, hopefully. So, looking forward to that, and that's why I'm not necessarily working on the front of the car. What else? I'm in the process of right now building a rear firewall for the car. So since I decided to run a fuel cell, which is not right here, it's over there, a lot of tracks will require you to have some form of separation between yourself, the driver, and the fuel cell itself. So if you had just one that was in your trunk, there's some metal between you and there, so you're fine. But for this hatchback version, there's not necessarily any separation between the trunk and the front seat. So I need to build a firewall. I went to a metal dealer, a metal like depot place that was close by, distributor, that's a better word. I bought the one size up, so in accordance with the Formula Drift 2018 rulebook, I think for steel it was like 20 gauge steel. I ended up buying like 18, which is that like a size up, like thicker, just for a little breathing room. I don't want to go to like the minimum and then they end up changing it and they're like, oh yeah, we need thicker steel, and then I have to replace it. So a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, I'm in the process of that now. I made a nice shape that contours to the where I want it itself and where it contours to the body lines, and it's a shape that fits on both sides. And then I should be able to put some like weather stripping, like what you see around this trunk, around it, and it should create a nice seal between myself and the fuel cell. So that's it right now. We're gonna chime back to today in a moment, but the footage that you're about to see is me painting, or prepping and then painting. I don't even know if I really got much footage of that. And then me meandering the car inside with my roommate, because since I took the front subframe off, it didn't have any tires or rims that were capable of steering or anything, so we just manhandled it in the garage where it is now. So once I get these parts, there's not necessarily anything holding me back other than the mounting the fuel cell and then making that firewall that will be holding me back from like inevitably getting drive shaft, wiring, and then first start. Also, I bought a trailer. It's a 24-foot V-nose trailer with like a 2-foot V-nose, but who cares? And it's more than enough space for this car. This car, I think, is 14 feet long. So I'm looking forward to going on the road and being able to take this thing along with me, you know, and go visit some tracks and stuff like that. I could have bought an open wheel one, but in a couple months or in like half a year, I'm going to have to move to a new state, and it was just because I have a second trailer, or because I have a second vehicle, it wouldn't have made sense, and I can physically move everything I own inside this trailer, plus this car. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. So the footage you're gonna see is maybe like a week ago of me painting the car. Came out kind of good, in my opinion. I painted the engine bay white. So I was in deep thought after one day working on the engine itself, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really putting a lot of effort into making this thing look nice engine-wise and be reliable and everything like that. And I took a look at like the engine bay, and there was a whole lot of like bare metal spots and little rust spots that later down the road I'm sure that I would have to take care of. And I'm coming to a point where I'm hoping that I won't have to take the engine out for a while. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I have to wait on a couple parts before I can do anything. I'm gonna divvy up and clean up the engine bay. So I did. I went to the store. I bought some primer and some primer with filler and a whole lot of stuff and some white with clear, and I did it, and I like it. I like it a lot. It's the reason why I chose white. I've seen a lot of pro guys do it, and from their reasoning behind it is if there was some form of failure on, let's say, the engine, you can typically show like an oil failure, you'll be able to see it very easily, and so on and so forth. So
I gotta stop eating fried chicken. My stomach's gonna get fucked up.
yeah, this is my roommate Evan. He's helping me for this next part. So you do. So when I painted, I had to take the rear subframe out. Did I have to? No. Should have? Should I have? Probably not. But I'm glad I did in the long run. All 4 of the bolts, I was incapable of removing them. There are 6-point nuts on them. I used a 6-point deep well socket, and every single one of them were smoked. Like, couldn't get them off. I ended up having to cut them off. So I'm happy that this happened now, while I'm in a good space, like where I'm in my garage. Like, let's say if I'm on the road and this component needs to come off the car for whatever reason, I'm capable of now, because I'm getting brand new bolts, it would be easier later down the road, and I won't have to deal with what I just went through on the road. So the only problem is those bolts aren't going to be here till Friday. And the car isn't necessarily watertight as of right now, and it's supposed to rain in a couple days. So what has to happen is myself and my fried chicken loving roommate are going to have to manhandle the car into the driveway. Something I realized over the past couple days is later down the road when I purchase a home and I have a garage, or just regardless, I will never have a house with a gravel, dirt driveway. My life would be a lot easier if that didn't happen, because right now, since I have a gravel, dirt driveway, I can't put the floor jack and just walk the car back with the floor jack, because it doesn't have a soft, or it doesn't have a smooth surface. So what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to lay out some wood, and I honestly don't have that much, as far as I can go, and more than likely myself and my roommate are gonna have to pick up the front of the car, walk it back a couple feet, and set it on the floor jack. Yeah, that isn't gonna be fun. I'm hoping, because the front subframe is not in, the rear subframe is in, and the fuel cell is in the back, it might make it a little easier. I think I could have picked it up by myself, but 2 people is just gonna be easier. So yeah, that's really it for now. We're gonna put on Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force and get weird when we pick up this car. So yeah, let's see how that goes. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the footage of the paint. I'll show you what it looks like now. I think it looks pretty good. I managed to paint the master cylinder because it had some rust on it when I removed it for the paint. And then I mounted the clutch master cylinder over there. But it looks great. I think it looks 10 times better than what it previously looked like, because it was just gross. So I think it looks fantastic. It's going to look great with the engine in it. And then here's the front subframe. But yeah, if you guys have any experience with coilovers, let me know, because I'm having a small problem. So these are old coilovers from the previous owner. They're Cusco coilovers. They're not necessarily bottom shelf, but they're pretty good. They're good for now. Later down the road, I'm going to upgrade. But I'm having a problem with, so here's the top ring, which I had to adjust to get a decent ride height because my engine is a lot heavier than what was previously in here. But here's the bottom ring, and this is supposed to counteract the top rings to make sure it doesn't fall down. But this bottom ring is seized. Like, I can't move it at all. I've tried everything while it's in the car. I haven't necessarily tried it while it was out. But let me know if you guys have any tips. I might just go in there with some PB Blaster or something that will loosen it up, because there's clearly a lot of corrosion in there, and then just like try to snap it loose, because the other side's good and the ride height's fine now. I mean, I've only checked with that the engine out of the car, but now it's a lot better, and I can't do anything about that one side because that thing is seized. So here's the shape for, I made this for the passenger side, and it actually, if you flip it over, it works on the driver's side. So I will show you in a quick second of what that looks like. So welcome to the inside of the car. Excuse the mess, because I was just cutting and I'm in the middle of a couple projects, but here it is. I think I just ripped my shorts. Shit. So that's it buttoned up. Let me get you around. But that's pretty tight, and that's tight enough where if I were to put some weather stripping between the window and then between the top of the hatch and then a little bit right there and then the other part's fine, I think that's pretty bomb on how well the fitment is. And it's about the same on the other side. So the only thing that I'm really worried about is I probably have 2 chances to get it perfect on when I get it over on the actual sheet. And the only thing that I could think about is getting it perfectly straight across here and getting it perfectly straight across on the bottom. Sorry that harness bar's in the way. But getting it perfectly straight across to start the other shape, you know? So I'm going to try to problem solve. I'm going to take a little break and make some lunch. But yeah, that's really where I'm at right now, is trying to figure out how I can get that to perfectly come across and then start the other shape. And then once that's in there, I can just bolt it to, I'm having it so I can bolt it here, and I'll probably put, there's like an anchor right here and there's an anchor on the adjacent side, and I'll put a piece of steel going across, and then I can screw into the middle, and that would just make it more rigid. I was really upset to like find out about this rule. I mean, it makes sense. Like I can 100% get where they're coming from and why they would want you to have this. But I was upset because I had the AccuSum right here, and I thought it was cool to be able to see it, and that also has to be separated because it's a part of the oiling system. So yeah, so you can see where the fuel lines are going. Sorry, like I have a bunch of shit back here, but like the AccuSum's gonna be, I'm gonna make this hole a little bigger, and then the AccuSum's gonna follow the fuel lines under, just to keep it completely separate, like fuel and oil, and then the only thing that really is gonna be in the cockpit with me is wiring. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm gonna take a break, relax, and try to figure out a game plan on how I can get this perfectly good. So thanks. Alright, so this is for the, I can't see what those on, the rear firewall for the fuel cell. So I made 2 shapes. So here's one, and the other's on the other side. I made 2 shapes that contour to the inside of the body line of the car. And then I mirrored it basically, and I needed a little different, like slightly, basically the same thing. So I did those, I got them perfect, and I'm like, all right, now I need some straight lines going across the bottom and going across the top. So basically just took some angle iron on the top, because the top doesn't have to be perfectly straight because it has to follow the contour of the window to the slightest. And then this on the bottom, it had to be straight. So I figured that out and then made this. I put 2 screws in each corner so it doesn't rotate or jiggle when I take it out. But that's basically it. It wasn't too hard. I mean, if any of you guys are doing this for your S13, all you need is like an angle grinder with cutting wheels and then a flat wheel. And then this entire sheet, which is way more than you need, you can get like half of this. I got this sheet for $80. So, I mean, it's kind of pricey, but at the same time, there are benefits of running a fuel cell and, you know, race car. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna cut this out and then slap it in there.